All right, sweet. Let's get right into it. So I want to start with TikTok Shop because it's been so relevant. How many people here actually shop on TikTok or have bought something from TikTok shops? Raise of hand, show of hands. Okay, so like 30% of the room. Are you guys leveraging TikTok Shop in terms of your marketing strategies? Like, are you thinking about it as like a large channel to drive GMV and revenue?
Yeah, I think we just launched in the market in September and have largely been leveraging kind of Instagram and Shopify. But for 2025, it's definitely a huge initiative for us. Obviously, as you know more than anybody up here, I think you have to make a concerted effort, really build content with other creators, affiliates, kind of, really spend on TikTok. So honestly, we're kind of in the midst of developing that strategy and learning how to leverage it. We're also going to be launching on Amazon in January, which I think, kind of launching those two together, I think makes the most sense from our standpoint to build that visibility. We are up on the shop. We are on TikTok Shop now, but it hasn't been a main focus kind of initially for us in the launch. But we're kind of putting that strategy together as we speak.
So hot sauce is obviously it's retail native. Like you're buying hot sauce, either actually at the store or on Amazon. How do you think about like the revenue mix for your business? Was it always meant to be retail first? I mean, you guys also launched on Shopify too, though.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm like, a funny person to be on the panel just because I'm always been kind of a retail first person. I think Brooklyn has almost like 16 million followers. And, we were frankly a bit worried on how that converts to e-com or, really putting e-com first. Wanted the ability to kind of build awareness across that community, but have someone be able to go into a store and purchase it. So I've actually was pleasantly surprised. Our e-commerce really kind of blew up with the launch, both in the US and the UK, because we launched in both markets. So I think, we are kind of in the process of kind of doubling down on that. And, again, leveraging the community he's built on Instagram, he's building on TikTok right now. But for us, the revenue mix, I think, with CPG or, consumer products, it's just hard. I think retail is always, from a scale standpoint, going to be so much easier to get it out there. But I think you can create really cool and unique experiences. Like, I think you showed a picture of it, but we've created a really beautiful box for the, you can kind of see it there with Brooklyn's hands. Really beautiful box. It's a very like giftable item. Obviously, our packaging, I think, is one of our, other than the product itself, is one of our big, benefits. The custom packaging we did, but kind of building a unique e-commerce experience that kind of is giftable. And then I think we're kind of deciding how we double down on the e-commerce piece because we've seen such a good return on it, as well as leverage that into TikTok.
That return, though, off the launch, is that just through Brooklyn's audience? Is that creator content? Or is that more paid driven?
No, so we did no paid to start just because, I like to kind of get a baseline for what, how it's going to move. It's mostly Brooklyn and his community. Obviously, we did see some very big bumps when David and Victoria both posted about it because amplified it with their audiences. I think that, but we've seen it sustained kind of, order volumes across the time period. And it's exciting to see, and I think it'll be fun. And I think, we've leveraged merch online as well, which I think is something interesting. We've seen moves quicker than I expected. But
are you thinking of it? So that dovetails nicely into shops then. If most of your Shopify sales have been driven by creators, influencers, you think that there would be amplification on TikTok. Have you guys have you tried it a bit?
Yeah, we're trying it a little bit. I think the other thing I was going to mention is we did a lot of collaborations with kind of top tier chefs. So Ludo Lefave, Evan Funke, Nobu, Yamamoto. There's a couple coming out, Yamamoto. So we kind of focus on a lot of culinary content that, with some really amazing chefs. And I think that's kind of going to be our entry. We've kind of used that on Instagram, and I think we're going to kind of use as our entry into TikTok, collaborating with them, and then also kind of getting out to smaller, more micro influencers and affiliates.
I love that. Namik, what do you think?
Hi guys, thank you for having me here.
Of course.
So from our experience, I think the same. Our first focus was Shopify and Amazon. We kind of organically start selling there. When it comes to TikTok, I think it's definitely the future because, you see a lot of things happening there. And I think that TikTok was able to combine entertainment and seamless shopping. But for us, we're still learning. And what I also see from other creators or from other brands, usually the founder-led content that's like behind the scenes. If you're really good on camera, you have charisma, I think you can build a $1 million business just on TikTok Shop. So I think for us, it's still something new. We're still learning about it. We ran some ads. They come out a little bit too expensive than regular Shopify or even Amazon. But for us, it's still kind of like a new territory.
Yeah. David, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. I think from what I'm seeing just in the marketplace is like if you want to scale TikTok shops, you need a pretty intricate strategy. A lot of affiliates, 400 to 500 affiliates a month producing content for you. But the spillover effects for Shopify are pretty big because you can leverage all of that content now from those creators for ads, which previously, a lot of our brands have had to pay for. They're going out paying creators thousands of dollars a month for ad creative for Meta. Now through TikTok Shop, they facilitate all of those transactions. You work with those affiliates. You leverage that back for your Meta. What I'm seeing for a lot of our brands is like TikTok Shop isn't necessarily like super profitable, but it's a halo effect. They get a ton of impressions, content goes viral. That spills over into Amazon. That spills over into Shopify, both of which you guys are selling on. But yeah, most of the conversations we're having, it's very similar to what Forbes and Namik said. It's like people are starting to think about, okay, how can we be successful on TikTok Shop? We need to bake that into our budget, and we need to figure out a strategy because it's live shopping and it's very affiliate heavy. And then there's the marketplace function, which, by the way, the Shopify TikTok integration is really good, and that's definitely the way to do it over Amazon for right now. David, you're launching. Well, first, let's talk a little bit about Tiami, and then we can talk more about how you're thinking about TikTok Shop if it's relevant for your business.
Yeah, sure. So I think I look at things a little bit differently because I've been down this road before. And just a quick word about Lisa. Lisa did $27 million in its first year, $78 million in the second, and $128 million in the third year. And that was a decade ago. And it was relatively inexpensive to acquire customers. Our average transaction was $960. So I can share a lot of things that we did right and a few things that we did wrong. But by 2019, I was chairman, no longer CEO, and I was screaming at them to start exploring TikTok. And finally, I invested in a TikTok creative agency and persuaded the owners of Lisa now to give it a try, and they're doing pretty well on it. So it's a good test bed for me. On the 15th of January, which is 10 years to the day after I launched Lisa, I'm launching a new mattress company called Tiami. And later tonight, I'm going to post a little bit about it. And
are you sleeping on the mattress yet?
Not yet, because we've only just finalized. In fact, we're not 100% fixed. We've got an extraordinary mattress, and it's $2,500, $3,000. We're not going to do any promotions at all other than people that know people, and then they can get 15% off. But we're going to try and do things a little differently here. I'm not in a rush either, which makes life very different, and it's totally self-funded. So it changes things a little bit. I've spent the last 4 years mentoring and investing in young founders. I've learned an amazing amount from them, and I've been fortunate. I was the first investor in Whaler, which is one of the largest creator agencies, and I've invested in a bunch of AI things, some that have gone wrong, some that are going extremely well. So I'm trying to bring all that to the fore, and as it relates, bring it all the way around to the question of TikTok. TikTok is sort of extraordinary in a way because the audience is is created by the creators. And so you can't look at TikTok and say, oh, can I go on TikTok and make this work? So I've got the I think she might have been the number 5 or number 6 employee at TikTok helping me, and it's all about, first of all, can you sell a $3,000 product on TikTok? I believe you can, because I see people of my age like watching TikTok videos all day, you know. So I'm 62, by the way. I've been around a while. Did my first startup here in the US in 1994 and sold it in 1998. So I'm.
You look great, David. By the way.
Sorry,
you look great.
So I'm now. I believe very strongly that all we do as marketers is create anticipation. So ultimately, the experience of the product is everything, because we live our lives on this continuum from anticipation to experience to memory. Everything we do, coming to tonight, you anticipate, you know, and if it's better than you expect, the experience, then when you commit it to memory, you share it with people and you tell people. So I'm focused on the quality of the product and the experience that we're going to give our customers. And everything that we're talking about today is how do you create enough anticipation that people will pull the trigger. So I think we can create anticipation sufficient to pull the trigger on TikTok if we find the right creators and if we test carefully and we see what happens. And that's what we're doing. So it's definitely in our consideration set, along with, you know, the dialogue on Reddit that takes place. I mean, it's up there in terms of what we're trying. But ultimately, we're building a business where we can recommend the product to our friends and family, and we hope that our customers will do the same. And so, yes, to TikTok, absolutely. It is just an unbelievable, scalable. It's like Amazon, but you both tell the story, you do the marketing and the selling in the same place. So you don't have to spend the money to get people there. Hopefully, by spending the money with the right creators, you get them there and they pull the trigger all in the same place. So I've got very high hopes for it, but time will tell.
Thank you. So I think, you know, we have a pretty long question here. How did we get here from social brands evolving from community tools to full-scale e-com ecosystems? Let's start with you, David, because I think it's interesting. When you think about like 10 years ago when you launched Lisa, it's like, you know, you pretty much, it was Meta, right? It was Instagram and Facebook for the most part. And that ad ecosystem was totally different because I remember when I first got Instagram, it was like one-to-one connections with your friends. You weren't discovering random folks, random people, which is totally different from TikTok. TikTok, you're served content that, you know, is from people you don't even know. Like, it's promoting organic content, which previously was really only possible through paid on Instagram. The way you discover new content is through ads. And with TikTok and now with Reels, it's through organic content. So that changes the way that people are discovering products, brands, people, and the type of content they want to interact with. But, you know, I think, how did that change? How's that changing your go-to-market strategy with Tiami? I mean, you just mentioned it's going to be, for the most part, like, if you know, you know, like, I guess.
Yeah. So thanks for sending me the question in advance. I still found this one confusing, by the way. But
yeah, I'm like, how did this?
But what the way that I thought about this,
I didn't come up with these questions.
Really, how has it happened that media companies have become transactional platforms? That's really the question here. And what does that mean to us? And, you know, quite honestly, every media business in history made the transition from pure readership and media into transactions. I had a business called Media Brands several years ago, and I was taking unsold newspaper inventory and selling products off the page. And then I built online stores for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So I was buying products like digital cameras and 400 thread count sheet sets and creating 53 different ads and sending them out to the newspapers and building a store for them that was basically a transactional platform on a media in a media environment. And eventually everyone that creates audience sees the fact that they can either sell the content on subscription, they can sell advertising, or they can sell products. And so what we're really, and you have to basically find your opportunities within that. So every single media platform eventually, I think I'm looking at Reddit right now because all of the conversations taking place there in terms of reviews and understanding product. And, I've got to find the fastest way from a Reddit question to selling a product. And that's how my brain gets around those kinds of problems. So I think it happened because everyone since the beginning of time has tried to get customers from unaware to aware, from aware to interest to engagement to trial to repeat. And then along came social media, and we were able to take those customers and explode them by having the megaphone. I call it the mousetrap and the megaphone. So the megaphone is now how do you get them to share it? We used to keep, the lists of customers in the early days of direct commerce, we used to call them golden lists. We didn't tell anybody who our customers were. Nobody, because if we let them know who our customer was, they would go after them themselves, because all you had was their address and their name, and anyone could get that. Today, you want your customers to share their experience through socialization. So what comes after socialization is basically the media giants that are created through this process getting into commerce, and you've just got to be there. So my view is test everything, because there's an economic solution. There's a unit economic solution on every platform if you can find it. It may not work for your product, but it doesn't work. Not all products work on every platform, but you have to try them all. You have to test them all, in my opinion. And that's really what we're experiencing here. It's just evolution.
I think that's actually a great point, because for both of your products, Namik and Forbes, not every social platform is going to have the right unit economics. What's your AOV on the hot sauce side?
Our AOV right now is around $40, but we did that. We only sell 2-packs online, and because I think it's interesting historically for food and beverage brands, really e-commerce and social commerce is a place for discovery. I mean, brands I've launched on D2C, largely see 70-80% of it be a variety pack, which typically doesn't sell in retail. People typically want to go to retail and buy, what they know they want. But e-commerce, I think, I've seen a lot of it be a lot of trial and discovery. And I think it's interesting, I was involved with a brand previously called Dirty Lemon. It was interesting to watch the evolution there because, that brand, we built about a $5 million brand on Instagram, previous to sponsored ads, all that kind of stuff, back in the day when you would just kind of do what we're talking about doing on a bigger level here with TikTok, but go find some influencers, write them a $500 check, have them, post some posts with the product. And it was kind of, meant to be like, this isn't an ad. And then obviously it moved to the sponsored ad. It kind of evolved to that and meta ads. And in the beginning, we really boosted sales with meta and Instagram ads, or Facebook ads and Instagram ads back then. But then you saw the customer acquisition costs and the cost of those ads just skyrocket to $60, $70, and with a price point, in David's case, you can sustain that and really drive that. But for CPG products, where average order value in our case back then it was like $60. You have to get a lifetime value out of someone, 3 or 4 orders in order for it to make sense. So definitely, I think not every platform works perfectly for it, but I think it drives trial, it drives awareness. You're really getting it in people's hands. So that's kind of how I think about it. But it's been an interesting evolution, especially with, I think, specifically food and beverage and kind of lower AOV type products.
Yeah, I think we see the same thing. Consistently, there's only so low you can get your CPA on Meta, on paid channels. And that's just a function of the ad auction and platform saturation and how many people are bidding for the same ad space. So low AOV products. I mean, I didn't realize your AOV was that high, but you can make D2C work. I think 40, you figure out how to get your AOV up to $50, $60, you're in a good spot.
When I think too, I tell a lot of people, because I think everyone always is worried that they're going to be priced too high for e-commerce, and I think like let the Shopify or let kind of maybe even Amazon or others be somewhat of a lower price point. But I think if people are going to go to your website, go to your Shopify site, are going to engage with your brand, I think they just want killer experiences. I don't think someone can walk into Whole Foods and buy the product for $14.99. But I think what we try and give is an experience to them. Something that's very giftable, that has a high value prop. So you can take it to a dinner party. It's a conversation piece. It's something like that. And I think like I try and tell people, don't be scared to go to build better experiences in e-commerce, even more expensive experiences. Because I think if people really want to engage with the brand on that level, they're going to purchase it. Yeah,
it's an opportunity for you to tell your story. I think it comes through in the Cloud 23 branding. Like, you guys are clearly trying to differentiate from an aesthetic perspective in the hot sauce category. I'm just curious how, how else you view that category. It's obviously there's a lot of players in there. Like, what's your strategy in terms of, is it on taste? Is it other pieces? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously hot sauce is a very crowded category, and a lot of like unique products, a lot of unique bottles, unique flavor profiles and things like that. I think for us, the white space we saw was you have brands like Truff and Fly by Jing that have done a really great job of premium, being a premium or super premium product in the category, but they all are, either are niche to some degree. And so what we tried to do is create we have two SKUs. One's a sweet jalapeno, which has a little bit of brown sugar in it, and then we have a hot habanero, which is more of your traditional kind of American hot sauce. But tried to create something that was ubiquitous, could be used across a lot of different cuisines, a lot of different dishes. It was kind of high use. But in terms of the packaging, I think we really wanted to go. It was really Brooklyn's vision of doing something that's premium, super premium, but different. We get a lot of comments that it looks like perfume, or something to the case, but. It's a custom bottle that we had made.
Expensive bottle.
Yeah, meant to look like kind of a decanter, and I think the labels kind of cut across a lot of the simple modernization that's been in CPG for the past like 4 or 5 years, where people have just gone to like very simple, straightforward branding. It's a little bit more maximalist, and is kind of inspired a lot by his tattoos and kind of his tattoo style. So I think we're kind of leaning in CPG. In retail, at least, it's really about getting someone to buy it first, and I think the packaging engages people from that, and then it's the repeat purchase, which the product, it's all organic, no stabilizers, no anything, so it really, I think delivers on that, and we're excited to get it in more hands.
I think that's such a good point. I think for everyone here how many people are launching businesses, and CPG founders, apparel founders, like what are you, CPG maybe? Okay, a bit. Yeah, like I think figuring out where your product's going to sell is the most important thing when you're thinking about design. So like you can see with Cloud 23, it's going to stand out on shelf, which is really what you want to do when you're in a crowded category. Like you want to get people to say, what is that? And then they kind of dive deeper. It's like them opening a chapter, the first chapter of a book, and then they try. And then to your point earlier, David, that's trial. And then if you have a great product, they repeat. The beautiful thing about D2C is like you have so many other marketing touch points to tell the brand story. So that's the Shopify website. I haven't been on the Cloud 23 website yet, but I'm sure it's beautiful. And then you have all of the other marketing material from like your product photography, other ways to tell the story. So I think for the founders in the room, like figure out where you're going to be selling your product, whether it's Amazon also has a lot of touch points. TikTok has an entirely different medium of creative. It's influencer creative. It's working with creators that align with your brand. I'm sure for Cloud 23, when you're working with creators, it's going to be like your Nobu, Matsuhisa, Nobu, like high quality chefs, like that's part of the brand. So I think that's important to consider when you guys are thinking about creative. Namik, what's your most fun marketing activation to date?
Yeah, I think the most fun we did we did 5 months program Run Club in New York City. So essentially, we would we work with a person who helped us to run the club like twice a month, And I think throughout the 5 months, there's 1,000 people participating in those runs, and we were able to get our product to them and let them try it. We launched a couple of new products as well. We tested them, get the feedback from people as well. So I think that was
that
fun.
your own run club, or do you partner with someone?
Yeah, we just partnered with someone, and we had those like bi-weekly rounds.
Interesting. Yeah, run clubs are becoming so popular in the city. It's like there's a new one every other week. David, what about you here?
Oh gosh, there have been so many. I think the one that I didn't know about was probably the most fun, because we had in the early days of Barstool Sports, we were their mattress partner. We did a lot with them. We helped them. They helped us, and we did They did. I didn't do it. The team did an activation in Boston on Moving Day where they had someone dressed as Santa Claus being dragged around on a truck that we had a bunch of mattresses in and handing them out to students. And I pretended we weren't on Barstool Sports, but it's a very interesting example of what we're talking about here, because I think the second year we did it, it went from like 300,000 to 700,000 they wanted for the sponsorship. And I said, if you can show me that we're doing $3 million of revenue, I don't care, because no one I know has ever told me they've seen Barstool Sports, because, I mean, I wasn't there, nor any. So, and that's the whole thing about, and TikTok in particular, and the way the algorithms work now. As long as you can find an audience and you can find someone that talks to that audience, then you can play there, because they don't overlap very much. And one of the things that I was going to ask is, I was always, every single channel expert that I had on my team would come and tell me, well, we've sold this much through the channel, but the halo effect is like 3 times. And I'd add it all up, and it would be like 10 times our actual sales that everyone was claiming. But there definitely is a halo effect. And I think that if you can find creators who not only love your product, but shop at Whole Foods and can easily then I think that it's got to be a win for you. I mean, there must be a halo effect of all this, that you're selling. The direct is just one small part. I don't know what you don't need to share, but I'm sure your retail business is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's a halo effect, and I think too, one of the most interesting things I'm looking forward to digging in deeper is, I think when you launch a product, I've formulated and launched a lot of products, and I know a lot of formulators who are kind of tinkerers, they want to get it perfect before they launch. I'm more of like, let's get it 80, 85% there, because you don't know who it's going to resonate with. And so I think TikTok's a huge opportunity to access a lot of what you're talking about, those kind of, I don't want to call them micro audiences, but different audiences. And every time I've ever launched a product, I've been surprised by some of the audiences that really embrace it, whether it's the Barstool Sports example. So I think one of the powerful things I'm looking forward to at TikTok is just seeing what some of those audiences that really resonate with the product that you wouldn't even be able to think about or plan ahead of time, and getting just some of the feedback. But definitely a halo effect. I think having that awareness, it's the same we see with the celebrity side of things, which I know we're going to talk a little bit more about. But just being able to get the word out, it drives people to retail secondarily.
Yeah, I think the major concern I have right now on the shop side is like the margin is just so slim. So yeah, I think you have to be thinking about it as almost like a marketing channel, like for you. Whereas like Amazon, it's a pure demand capture platform. It's like you are looking at your contribution profit every single week, and you're trying to maximize that as much as possible. With TikTok, you've got the affiliate fees, you have the marketplace commission, you have your fulfillment costs, like COGS, agency fees, there's ad spend on top. It's like, it just continues to compress things. So the brands that...
You're putting me off it very quickly.
But the halo effect. No, I think it's a real concern though. But like, I mean, you run these correlations, you do like a p-value correlation or an MMM, and you see when products go viral on TikTok, they sell on Amazon. And there's definitely an effect on Shopify or retail too. So I think that's going to get worked out. I think the unit economic piece is still like the market's trying to figure that out. But yeah, certainly like we know brands doing millions of GMV on TikTok Shop, and they're not profitable channels for them. Yeah, so I'm really interested. We've had like 2 different office hours about community building, and I think that's like very much in vogue in the consumer space. Like, are you like our brand is community driven? I think I heard Namik say community driven, and the question is like, what does that actually mean? Like, how do you quantify community? David, how do you think about that? Because obviously Tiami's trying to be community driven.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of touch points into measurement and through various activities that I'm involved in, and I measure everything. I mean, Maggie's here; she's worked for me before. She joined me on when we launched the Fascination and sold it and went with the sale, and so. I mean, measurement is absolutely critical. So, if we can't measure it, we won't do it. It's that simple. And I think that what I'm seeing anyway through the Whaler lens actually is that just using fairly traditional measures of reach, impressions, that's helpful. But ultimately, businesses have to make money, and so I'm looking for a route directly into sales and actually contribution, and so I'm measuring ultimately community performance by what does it cost to build and how much money does it generate ultimately. But you got to have some staying power in the early stages and some belief in it.
Namik, what do you think about community? Like, you guys have obviously done a ton in New York City. How do you think about the ginger community?
Yeah, so I think for us, we seasonal business, like ginger shots, obviously everyone likes them during the winter time. Summer slows down. And I think this summer, we had pretty strong summer as well in terms of sales. So I think I can contribute towards that.
So why is that, though? Is people just like their ginger shots?
Ginger shots, they're more for immunity. It's like cold and flu season. Obviously, people buy more. Summertime, I guess those just like hardcore ginger shot lovers, they continue to consume them. So like I said, we had very strong summer this year. So I think we can contribute to some of those activities, but also at the same time, we start our meta ads recently, essentially like July. So I think that's also contributed to extra sales. So I think that's one way to measure it. And then obviously, you can build your email list from all this community engagement and send some of the sales and see how people are gonna purchase.
You have a pretty interesting story. So tell us a little bit more, because you bootstrap Ginger. Right?
Yeah. So essentially, when we first started, it's 2020. We were about to launch a product in March, and COVID happened. We had $150,000 in the bank, not a lot of money. And, we essentially launched during lockdown. So we went
Was that Ginger Shots?
Ginger Shots, yeah. So it was just 2020. Like, there was no distributor you can even talk to them because, like, no one even... There was no emails, It was, like, complete lockdown. So we went from store to store to store, and product just kind of, like, took off. And within the first, 6 months, we had 400 buying stores. And, we started generating revenue immediately. And kind of like for us, the retail first, that was kind of like our approach, especially during 2020, during lockdown, everyone went to direct to consumer. So I think for us, that was kind of like the winning strategy. We actually went into retail and we built very strong retail. And then we only went into direct to consumer. And like I said, we've been in the business for 5 years, and we just started our direct to consumer.
How did the COVID, did COVID impact the consumer behavior around ginger shots?
Well, I think...
like post-COVID, like...
Right. When we first started, even talking to some investors, they're like, oh, it's just a trend. People are going to just drink ginger shots, and then it just... Because the immunity was just hot, right? Everyone was talking about immunity and digestion, all that stuff, right? So, and then some investor told us, it's just a trend, it's going to go away. But we just see that people continue to consume this type of product because we, 10x our business from 2020. So, and I think people became more aware of this type of product, and especially with the social media, TikTok. Like nowadays, everyone makes this ginger shots and whatnot. So I think it's going to continue to grow.
Yeah, so I guess so. Like Starbucks, they launched a ginger shot competitor. Like, how do you like anticipate some of those moves that are going to happen and retain, your brand, retain your stature? How have you guys thought about that?
Again, kind of going back to the origin of the story, it was like 2019, right? When I kind of had this idea, we're always going to have cold and flu season. So it was summer 2019. So I had no idea there's going to be COVID, right? And while I was building this product and we about to launch, COVID happened. So it was just kind of like, I would say right product at the right time, right? And then once we launched, the product really took off from like day one. Product starts selling, and probably know in the beverage industry, it's extremely hard to, get your product on the shelf that's going to move right away. It takes like 6 months, even a year, just to start seeing some movements. So for us, it was just like a perfect storm. But then we started with just single product, but then we started adding different type of product like digestion, energy, just kind of like expand our portfolio and just continue with some up-and-coming trends.
Yeah, how have you tested so frequently? I remember every conversations we've had here, like check out energy, like check out digestion, check out citrus.
So for me, it was more like, once I see the trend, so I saw the trend for vitamin D. I'm like, okay, so vitamin D, it's becoming like a hot topic. So I'm like, let's launch this product. And we launched it. We see the traction, product is moving. So I will kind of like, you just have to stay on top of the market, I would say. So just see what's going on.
And then when did you guys raised a round recently? We had Daniel on the panel. He led the round, right?
Right. So we raised, we bootstrapped for essentially 3 years. And then this March, we closed our seed round.
Nice. And now you guys are expanding. Tell us more.
Yeah. So this, like I said, this year was pretty strong. So we doubled our business this year. So I hope my investors are happy with the results. So I think we did a pretty good job, and it was a lot of learning. Obviously, it was our first VC investment, and it took me some time to realize that we actually, VC backed. I think as we learned the business, it just, we become like more comfortable in what we're doing. So
that's awesome. Let's talk about live shopping. Has anyone bought anything off a live shopping ad? No. Me either, but
yeah,
there we go.
Historically, going way back to the beginning of direct to consumer, I launched shopping on the Travel Channel on Sky Travel in Europe, and I was live on Thursdays. So I've done super live, on.
You're the live shopping guy.
I wasn't me. I wasn't the talent, because even in those days, you wanted like real talent on. But yeah, and then I'm a huge believer. I will be trying live shopping because I've experienced it through all its incarnations, Home Shopping Network, QVC. But it's, again, the thing that people misunderstand is that these platforms create audiences, and the audience has to be your customer. QVC had about 500,000 customers that were their customers. It was like there were people that went to Nordstrom and there were people that shopped at QVC. So if they were your audience and you got the right host, you could sell a lot of stuff. And it's going to be no different in live shopping. If the host talks to the people who are interested in, have a need for a product like yours, then it'll work, and if they don't, it'll flop. And I'm sure you've heard stories, or maybe you haven't, because most of you are too young.
So how do you deconstruct that then? Is that like, if you're a brand, are you trying to plug your product into a host that has an existing audience? And let me just impart my own, what I'm seeing in the market is I'm seeing brands build their own live shopping apparatus where they have like 24-hour live shopping facilities, and they're just pushing their own products.
That's how we're going to look at it. We're going to see it as our own platform, just like, we had a store a street away at Lisa. We will try live shopping as a place to build an outlet for our product, to make it available there. And so we'll see. Our intent is to try every new. That's how we succeeded. So I always have a threshold of what I'll spend on a test, and I don't care if it succeeds or fails, because I don't measure it I look at it all in total, but I allocate budget to test. So we'll test everything, and if it works, we'll roll it out. And that's how I did it last time, and that's how I encourage people to do it. So
I think for you, I mean, it's kind of tough, the live shopping for hot sauce, right?
I think we're going to be doing our first live through Amazon when we launch.
Nice launchpad.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that.
But I think there's some interesting opportunities to, build in cooking, kind of culinary, showing.
Brooklyn's going to be cooking live.
Oh yeah, he's cooking with I won't say who it is. People out January 17th, but he's cooking with a chef live. But I think
He's a good cook.
he is a good cook. I've eaten lots of the things he's cooked.
I've just heard.
You didn't try his stuff at Cannes?
No, he was on. We saw him at. He did. I think was it pasta at Amazon Port. Yeah. No, but I didn't try. I tried the sake. It was good.
Nice. Yeah, but I mean, I think we think about it. How do you create experiences from live that show people how to use the product, and get them excited about not only, what they think they can do, but showing easy ways to use the product, engaging them with culinary talent, and some of the names we've been able to attract. So yeah, I think we're gonna definitely lean more into it with TikTok specifically, but it'll be interesting to see kind of the feedback we get from that. And again, for social content, we've shot a lot with different chefs, but I think we're gonna try and do some live things with other influencers. And other culinary talent as well.
And just on that note too, so what's it like? Tell us the journey of how you guys got to a place where you were working with Brooklyn. Did he originate the idea, and then did you guys partner on it? Because I think a lot of folks that I speak to in the consumer space, there's always the allure of working with a celebrity. So unpack that for us.
Yeah, I really like the experience because it's a little bit different. I know have a lot of friends in the industry who started brands, and they start it and a celebrity comes on and is given equity to come on or to partner in. But the fun part about this is it really was originated with Brooklyn, and I was kind of brought on to help kind of execute that vision. So I mean, Brooklyn is the main shareholder. He during COVID really loved cooking for his wife, and they kind of developed the basis of the hot sauce themselves, and kind of again the unique branding, which I like because honestly, the branding that we created, I feel like sometimes it's hard when you've been in the industry a long time. You kind of get narrowed into what the trends are, what you've seen a lot of, and so I think it was a really unique perspective. So it was fun to see it kind of come to life and put. I've been in the industry for about 15 years to put that expertise behind kind of a really unique vision and kind of execute it against that. Yeah, I mean,
what's the value? I mean, obviously Brooklyn's creating a lot of content. He's got a ton of followers. Having gone through it off the launch, is it there's a CAC reduction? Is it revenue? How do you think about it?
I'll be honest here. I'm actually annoyed how much easier it is with a celebrity than it is to do on your own. Not that you can't do it on your own, but we were able to secure a national Whole Foods rollout. I don't think that would have been something we'd be able to do without Brooklyn. I think even if you talk to retailers like Whole Foods, Sprouts, even the Walmarts and the Targets of the world, they're seeing the halo effect and that influencers are driving and people with, communities and social media audiences are really driving sales for a lot of the brands in store. Again, not all are created equal. I think the level of engagement of the celebrity talent and really having it be an authentic kind of story, kind of like what we have, really helps make the difference. But, again, with Amazon, unlocking a lot of, kind of some of the, unlocking some of their, different toolkits that they're willing to do in order to help support celebrity-driven brands. So it definitely, makes a difference. I would be lying if I said it didn't. And I think, and then also just having that initial reach. And, I think a lot of times it's not only, again, in Brooklyn's case, he has a family and an ecosystem of people that also have a huge following. So we definitely saw that amplified as other people posted about it, and kind of having that built-in network that just amplifies the reach from 16 million to 100 million, really is helpful both from the, driving people to Shopify organically, helping drive people. And a lot of that for us came from Instagram and even just stories, and also driving people to retail.
Yeah, I think the partnership stuff is it's a huge unlock on the marketing side. When you have a celebrity, you can create these media partnerships with Amazon, with TikTok, and they're just much more willing to give you free marketing spend, which is like, it's currency. It's huge when you're launching a new brand to market. What I will say though, assuming most people aren't starting celebrity brands because it's rare and tough, I think the best thing that you can do though is invest in your brand and be really intentional about it. When we've been negotiating with an Amazon or a TikTok for new brand launches, like acting more like a distributor, they're interested in Brooklyn Beckham and the Nicki Minaj's of the world and like those folks, and are going to give them special treatment, but they're also giving special treatment to new brands that are doing something different, that are telling a different story, that have their brand identity dialed in. We're seeing that a lot. So that would be kind of my advice to those of you that aren't thinking about the celebrity route, but are thinking about the brand route. So Tiami, we talked about it a little bit, but...
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. I got out of the mattress business in 2019, but stayed on as chairman of the company. And a decade ago, the mattress industry, which is a huge industry, $16 billion a year, was like the wild, wild west at retail. And we came along and made it easy to buy online. We launched about the same time as Casper. We did not raise a ton of money. We made money, actually, in our first year. We did it. We got ahead of ourselves a little bit at times because we did raise some money, and that really wasn't a great experience because when you raise it, you spend it. And not wanting to get technical, but if you're in a positive working capital business and you raise money and they expect you to spend it, you're going to lose money because you didn't need the cap. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of it, unless you're growing unbelievably quickly. So 10 years on, what happened was the reviewers came in and took over every generic term, and some of them are genuinely reviewing mattresses, but as you probably know, some of them are just media businesses, and they recommend the company that pays them the most money. And so now, today, nobody really knows what mattress to buy. If you're in the market for a new mattress, you have no idea. And my co-founder, Jamie Diamonstein, builds the most unbelievable mattresses. And I said, I have a friend or family member every week, I've had 2 this week, tell me they're buying a new mattress, what do I recommend? And I just didn't know what to recommend. And I said to Jamie, if you can create the best mattress on the market for around $3,000, let's do this again. And so 3 of us who launched Elisa got together with actually one of Maggie's colleagues from my next startup that we built and sold, The Fascination. And the 4 of us are building this business. The product is absolutely extraordinary. The inspiration is really the waves, the idea of looking at the ocean or the Mediterranean and seeing the gentle waves. And can you create that serene feeling of rest that you get just from staring at water, at waves? Can you create that in a mattress? And we take that thinking into everything we do, from the cover design, which is 100% natural cotton, through to all the creative that we're doing, the way we think about everything, even the music that we are looking at to put with our brand. And we're trying to deliver that expectation and that feeling. So we're kind of thinking of Tiami as more than just a mattress. It's a feeling, and we want people to share their Tiami moments. So we're building community as well and saying, if you're if you're walking along a beach, or if you're sitting on a beach and there's just two of you there, and you're looking out at the ocean, that feeling is a Tiami moment. That's how you want to be when you get into your bed. The other thing about the product is it's very, very confusing. Our best-selling mattress in my prior life had the same number of people saying it was too firm as too soft in the returns. And that's because the idea of a firm mattress or a soft mattress is a myth. And choice is paralyzing. So we're only creating one mattress, and we've got the right support, the right rejuvenating layer, and then the right comfort on top. So I'm incredibly excited about it. As you heard, we're going to try lots of different channels to get there. You know, we're looking at creators as well, and maybe trying to find the right creator to work with. I do want to say one thing about celebrities. I've had very mixed experiences, from extraordinary relationships with Ali Raisman, for example, coming out of the Olympics, and she. Everything that I do, and we will be doing with Tiami as well, has social impact attached to it, but it's table stakes now. And at Lisa, I didn't talk about what we were going to do. I talk about what we did, and we donated one mattress for every 10 we sold. And during my tenure, we donated 40,000 mattresses across to shelters all across the U.S. And we've got something similar planned here. And Ali bought into that, like, unbelievably. She came with us to donation events, and yeah, Michael Phelps was also paid an awful lot of money to have him, and it's complicated, you know, when you work with celebrities like that, you know, private jets and that you don't really budget for and stuff like that. And so when you choose celebrities, I like what creators are doing today. People that are already got a following and they come out with a product that's relevant to who they are. Makes an awful lot of sense to me, and I would support anyone trying to do that. But just going out, you know, it didn't work in politics. It's not going to work in commerce either. Celebrities, unfortunately, didn't do the. Well, I shouldn't. I'm not going to get political here, but so just be careful. So look, I'm excited. You can go to tiami.com. You can see a welcome page. What other questions did you have here?
Unfortunately, I'm getting the signal that we're at time here, so I want to move into open Q&A, if you guys don't mind. So I'll either give you the mic or I'll go ahead.
You know, we use Klaviyo and really kind of try and hit touch points of, you know, driving people to review the product a lot, you know, and tell us their experience, because I think that's one of the big things with D2C for food and beverage products in particular is the kind of that close feedback loop you can get with your customers and getting that feedback, which is a huge piece. You know, I think it's probably because I personally hate being tapped on too many times, but we have a whole kind of marketing cycle. Usually it's a couple of days after someone's received the package, and then we typically 1 month after kind of, you know, kind of tap on someone to see if they need more. But I think, you know, we try and be a little bit light touch, but kind of also feed people content. You know, we have a big recipe database that we're building. Again, some of it's with, you know, really well-known chefs. Some of it's just some of our own recipes and things we've built. But I think trying to build that community, also show people how to use the product, also just helps do that as well.
I'll add to that too. Sorry, go ahead, Namik.
Yeah, I think in our case, you know, we have such a product that has high repeat purchase. You know, if you enter ginger shots or any wellness product, you would probably consume them on daily basis, right? From our experience, I think about 50 to 60% of the first-time purchaser, they subscribe already. And for us, we also use Klaviyo, and we send some educational material to if you're a first-time purchaser, and then obviously we also offer discount if you want to, you know, for the second purchase. So yeah, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, so with a big ticket item like a mattress, they're not going to buy it that often anyway. But, you know, this is the truth. When I first got into the business, I was scared to talk to a customer because they had a 100-night free trial, and I was worried that they might not like it and they might send it back. So I didn't know what, because I went into the unknown and jumped straight in, with both feet. Borrowed $100,000 actually in our first month personally because I couldn't get it through the business at the time. So, I was screwed if we didn't sell mattresses in the first couple of months. It would have been all over. So I really didn't want to talk to anybody. Today we're doing it very differently. We want people to talk about it. It's not so much we want them to buy again, but we want them to talk about it. So we're going to be sending a gift out within about 3 to 4 weeks, completely unexpected. We're sending out we haven't fully decided yet, so I won't talk about it yet, but our intent is to send a gift out. We built it into our cost structure. And I did that years ago in my travel business, actually. I did the same thing. So we're going to try and surprise and delight them, and we're going to give them a really strong incentive to share their experience with their friend, not for themselves, but for their friends, because hopefully there won't be any discounts available. Just people searching for a discount, they won't find it. And we're not going to promote a discount other than 6 times a year. So they'll have the opportunity, if they really love it, and we hope they will, to be able to say to a friend that's looking for a mattress, I can get you 15% off because I'm in the Friends and Family network. I have a Friends and Family code myself. So we're just trying something different. As my partner said to me this morning, don't commit to it too much because it might not work. We might have to go back to the old way of doing things. But we've got very high hopes that by launching a luxury product, we can do things a little differently. And that it's all about the experience, everything. I can't emphasize enough that these guys have done an amazing job at delivering an experience that exceeded people's expectations. And when people commit anything to memory, I've just had the most extraordinary week with a reunion of my team from 30 years ago in London, and then time with my mother and nieces and nephews in England. I've been in a different place every night for the last week, and I'll end up in Denver tonight. And just these experiences, and I've had some really bad customer service in the last week, and I'm telling people how bad it was with United and how bad it was, funnily enough, with Black Lane, the car service that I use, but I've still got them picking me up tonight, although I swore I'd never use them again. But everything you commit to memory, every experience, if it's extraordinary, when it gets committed to memory and people share it, it's good, and people that's the way you bring your acquisition costs down. Everything else you do is secondary to delivering an unbelievable experience once you got a customer.
Yeah, I'm going to steal that anticipation, experience, memory. I'll attribute it to you.
Well, as Lucas knows, it's actually a big part of the book I'm writing at the moment. So you can steal it, but please credit
bibliography.
Credit me.
Unboxed. Unboxed is the name of the book. What's the product, by the way?
I'm just asking in general.
Oh yeah.
But I will say too, I think referrals, promoting where you're not just blanket promoting, but promoting and giving people who have already engaged with you and to pass it on to their friends, I think is a huge part. We haven't done any of it yet, but we're looking to do that. And I think to David's point, I think if you create a good value proposition and something that engages people, then they want to share it, and then giving them the extra kind of ammunition to share it is really powerful. And I've seen it be very powerful in the past.
Yeah, like to summarize, I think some products, to Namik's point, they just like have repeat baked into it. It's just like, are you consuming it every day or on what frequency? And then make good experiences. I think the unboxing experience is huge. Other questions? A couple of the things that I'm seeing talking to early stage founders, one, like it's really uncomfortable to make content. Like I've been running my business for 7 years. I just started making content 6 months ago. It was the most uncomfortable thing ever. I like doing, I like having meetings. I like doing deals. I like, strategy, business development, partnerships, all the things that go into actually building. I like building. What I've seen just starting to make content around the agency business and our community, it's been insane. So I've just made it a habit, and it's taking time, but I think every single consumer brand, every single person I've had on this panel that has started making content, they've every single one of them has said, I wish I did it sooner. And if you're talking about how to do it on the tightest budget, the most cost-effective way is making content yourself. All you're investing is your time. So I would just say you need to get over that like mental gap and just start making it a part of your routine. Because guess what? Like over the next 10 years, most consumer businesses are going to have content creators embedded within them, or most of the founders are going to be making content themselves. That's the only differentiator you have, really. It's like brand and content creation. So I would say try and figure it out yourself. We're doing a session with Shopify in January, right at the start of the new year, all about that, how you can be a founder and make content. And we're bringing like 3 other professional content creators up. So we'll make a lot of content around that. Other than that, like there are services that like match content creator and matchmaker services for your brand. I actually introduced David to one of them, but they're expensive, you know? So, and you have to pay the content creator. Yeah, you can do your own video. Look at all this. Imagine just how visual that content is, right? Like,
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit because I hate content. Luckily, I have a celebrity brand where he does all the content. But no, I think like I don't think it's a terrible thing to, as David suggested, whether find a partner or find someone who is an avid user of the brand and just really believes in what you're doing. I think one thing too about engaging with customers is you'll find that like there are these avid users that, love to help and love to, naturally kind of amplify the brand. And I think it's fine to find, I've seen this a lot, specifically on TikTok, find people who that's really their comfort zone and is kind of like your company or your brand ambassador that does that content and is kind of the face of your brand, for that channel or for social media in general. I also think it's better. I've seen a lot of people, and Lucas can probably speak to this, but I've seen a lot of people talk to a lot of co-founders who will go and kind of just go to a bunch of influencers at once and, they don't see a ton of return. I think it's better to have kind of someone who's consistent and you work with that's a consistent face of the brand to start, and then, put your budget towards something like that and see if there's a way you can incentivize them in some way. But I think there's another option. I think if you, engage whether friends, family, or, avid users, I think you'll find people, you'll find someone who really enjoys doing that and, will be happy to be help you be the face of your brand.
Other questions?
Yeah, I didn't share that part of the strategy. One of the things that one of the only things that a major competitor did when I had Lisa was get into West Elm. I wanted to be in West Elm so badly because it was such a brand fit for us at Lisa. And they made a mistake, my competitor. They sold part of their company to Target. And I contacted the president of West Elm and literally sent him a one-line LinkedIn message. It said, based on Target's investment in XYZ company, would you be interested in talking? And 6 weeks later, we kicked Casper out of every one of their stores and took their space because West Elm didn't want to be associated with a company that was being sold in Target. So because of the way they do their product. So one of my goals in launching Tiami is to have retail exposure. There are very few furniture stores left that are high-end that don't have a strong relationship with a mattress brand, but there is one. And I can't tell you who it is, but they have stores in all the major cities and will be concurrently launching. Well, it may be like 2 months afterwards just because of their calendar, but we're going to launch on July the 15th. But they've asked us to take over one of their own brand mattresses, and we're already going to be supplying that basically as soon as we can get it to them, this is all happening incredibly quickly. But yeah, I do believe that retail is critical. I think these guys are, you went direct first and then into retail. You went retail first and then direct. Yeah, it's really, really difficult, but not impossible. I think creators can do it. I think creators can build direct only if they've got the right product. But I think that if you're trying to build a long-term brand that isn't associated just with one individual who is prepared to do all the creative, then I think that ultimately people like shopping, particularly at the higher end. And I think that I always say millennials created the beast that they're trying to get away from now, because they all want to go into stores now, high-end stores, and have great experiences. And so we're going to try and do it.
And I think too, another channel that we didn't really talk about that we think a lot about is kind of on for us in food. It's like on premise and food service, because for us it's similar to what someone goes to a West Elm or to whatever future retailer will be carrying Tiami and can experience it. I mean, I call it like the ASOP model. You went to a nice restaurant, you went to a hotel, they had ASOP. You want something nice at your house. What are you going to buy? ASOP, or one of the other similar brands. But so for us, we have a couple hotel partnerships launching. We'll be doing in-room service with it, also at the restaurants, at those on-premise, and then doing a lot of collaborations with a number of like QSR stupid lingo, fast casual, like pizza places, sandwich places, things like that. And I think I'll actually give a shout out to a competitor. I think Zab's, which is a hot sauce, has done a really wonderful job of doing that and getting in some of those places. You go to a high-end sandwich shop, they have a billboard in there. And I think that stuff can be expensive and should be done like lightly, but I think for discovery and trial, it's some really unique places, like whether it's a hotel that carries your mattresses.
Have you looked at first class on airlines?
Yeah, so we're talking to Emirates and Delta right now.
Because I was an early investor in Just Enough Wine, and their revenue's just taken off because they got United.
Tip Top, the canned cocktails, they did $20 million on Delta the first year.
Yeah.
So there's some interesting channels. I call it the alternative channel side of things that you can find.
They're huge. People don't realize.
They can be really big, and also people are more likely to buy you than in your traditional channel side too.
We got time for one more question.
Yeah, I've done both, and I've had businesses go that I've had to close down. I think today, right now, I mean, you've heard I've made a bunch of investments. I probably invested in 40 or I think 50, maybe just over 50 consumer enabling technologies and consumer brands, and there haven't been any exits for a while. So it's a tough place right now, and everything's focused on profitability. So if you're not profitable, you need to have you need to have a plan to become profitable. And I will just say this, and by the way, I'm rushing out afterwards. I would normally stay and answer any questions, but I've got a flight to Denver that I've got to get to. So, if anyone wants to contact me for anything like this, control your destiny. That's what I would say. I've lost control of mine a couple of times in my career, and it's just too painful. Like it's not where you want to be. It's not worth it. So profit allows you to control your destiny. So I would say be careful. Sometimes you need money. I invest in people who need money, and I've needed money as well. But just be really, really careful with it, and don't create it as a reason not to strive for profitability. So, but profit's more important than growth. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think I've definitely been in both and had some heartaches with with businesses that lost a lot of money. And I think a lot of times, I've had friends in the industry as well that have gone slower, more organic growth. And it's not as sexy at first, or you can't go around and be like, oh, I doubled my revenue this year and yada, yada, yada. But it's really easy when you're losing a lot of money or trying to be hyper growth. It's really easy to go sideways pretty quickly. And I think, I've just seen a lot more stability in people who maybe they take in a little bit of money, but they have the path to profitability. They kind of wait for that opportunity to really, leverage that and have a more solid foundation to leverage that. And then the one thing I'll say, the biggest thing I've seen in talking to founders is whichever way you decide to go, because hypergrowth certainly is an option, know which path you're on. Because I think that's the biggest thing is I'll talk to founders who they want hypergrowth, but they don't understand what that means. They don't understand that when you raise your seed round, you better be thinking about your Series A round, you better be thinking about your Series B, and you're kind of jumping from lily pad to lily pad. Whereas, it's just know which path you're on. You can't really be hyper growth. I mean, you can be in certain ways, but it's harder, I think, particularly in food and beverage, where you're fighting against a naturally depressed category, where the larger companies are holding prices down. I mean, the amount we buy our food for in grocery stores isn't truly reflective of kind of what the true cost should be, even with inflation and all that stuff recently. But it's hard because you're going to have a dip. You need to get to scale. And I would say know which path you're on, and also, I'd just be really intentional with like what sales you get. Like get to a certain level of sales, know where you have to get in order to get your cost down, in order to get to the next level of sales. It's really to me, phasing your business in the sense of where are the smart sales I can get at this cost where I'm making money, then I can go optimize my costs, and I can unlock that next tier of retailers. It's going to be, a more compressed margin or a compressed price point.
I think even our businesses that are venture backed, they're always talking about profitability. So I think you want to be profit focused first, no matter what you do. If you're break even, you have unlimited runway. Just remember that. Like that's something that you shouldn't take for granted. There is a time, there's a timer when you're unprofitable. So
just one more thing as well, just on a personal level. If your company's losing money and you've got investors, like one of the reasons why we work is for the nice things in life, and you can't even buy them when you're losing money, even if you've got the money, because your investors will be looking at you. So I've got a lot of nice things, and I never bought them when I was losing money, I can tell you. So if you want to enjoy, the good things in life, like houses and stuff, and be able to put your kids through college without any debt, which I was able to do, you're not going to do that if your company's losing money. That's it,
Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. For everyone who came and the speakers, let's give them a hand. We'll stay around for a little bit for Q&A. I think David might have to leave, but thanks so much for coming. We'll be doing this more.